Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to returning guest DeVaughn Taylor about John Carpenter's Christine. DeVaughn is a podcaster and the co-host of Spectre Cinema Club, and the Pod in the Pendulum podcasts. Welcome back to the show, DeVaughn.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and I think this is our first time just focusing on one film. I feel like all the other times I've been on, they've been double features. So I like being able to hone in on one.
I like the I love doing the double features. It kind of set my podcast a little bit apart for a while there. But I do admit, twofold for this now, switching it up to the single film format is one, it makes it a lot easier because I only have to watch one movie in anticipation of an episode.
Definitely makes prep easier.
Yeah. And two, it allows for, like you said, honing in to one particular movie instead of kind of just thinking about having to do two. And usually, it takes about the same amount of time. So I feel like we're getting a lot more content, a lot more details in on the one movie instead of two. So so this movie, Christine, directed by John Carpenter, is a adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Excuse me, for anybody listening today. I've got kind of a scratchy throat, and my nose is slightly stuffed up because I just had a deviated septum surgery yesterday, and so I might sound a little bit different today. But yeah, it's this is probably in my definitely in my top 5 of John Carpenter movies, just because it's so well done. It's so funny too because it's a good slow burn, in a lot of ways, where a lot of the action heavy stuff doesn't come until like the second half at the earliest. There's a lot of, like, the first hour is a lot of build up, but it's a lot of really good build up,
I'd say so.
For the 80s. Yeah.
I mean, this is a fascinating one for me. I mean, I like John Carpenter. I know he has a couple masterpieces under his belt. But as for the rest of his filmography, I'm kind of hit or miss with, as I've been kind of catching up with his filmography over the years. And this one usually doesn't rank as high for people on their Carpenter list. And this is like my second favorite of his. I really, really enjoy this film. Like, I didn't see it for the first time till 4 years ago, whenever I covered it on my podcast. And every time I've kind of gone back to it, I really appreciate it. It's one of those ones, like, as a Stephen King adaptation, he definitely isn't trying to be as faithful to the book, which I always appreciate. Like, if you're going to adapt something, I don't really want a faithful adaptation most of the time, like, because otherwise I would just read the book, So it's like, I always find it an odd thing when that's what people want, but then if it goes for faithful and then doesn't do it, then they're going to complain about that. So it's like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure when you're wanting a faithful adaptation, in my opinion. So I like that he approached this one kind of doing his own thing. If you guys don't know, he had the choice. It was basically between this and Cujo. Because the early 80s was when King adaptations were really starting to take off. His name was hot, and realizing that adapting his books could make money. So a lot of people were like kind of scratching at the bit. So like John Carpenter, so it's not like this was like something that he was like super passionate about and like, felt very strong feelings about. He was approached to do an adaptation. They basically said, do you want to do this or Cujo? And he ended up going this route. And he was a little jaded at the time because this was not too long after the thing, and that being a box office flop. So John Carpenter, he was in. I would assume he was feeling a type of way, and I feel like you get that meanness reflected in this film.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's interesting too because he was originally adapting Firestarter as well.
Yes,
and then pulled out of that and then ended up doing this instead, which I think in a lot of ways is better because Firestarter is such a weird book. I do think the movie isn't terrible, but and I'll get into that in another series. I'm planning on doing a Stephen King series probably next year. Um, but I'm glad he took on this movie, and like you said, to the point of adaptations and stuff. When going over the what's it called, the trivia of this movie and stuff, and seeing all the little things he changed, he kept the main bits of it while also keeping to the essence of the original book, which I think is what is necessary for any adaptation. Is that if you are keeping to the essential um like spirit of the source material, then that's what's more important than necessarily keeping to the letter of it. Because straight adaptations are fine-ish, but especially with Stephen King, I think Stephen King, you need to adapt and change things to fit the medium, because Stephen King himself is very verbose and can definitely go into a lot of detail. He's very well known for the amount of detail. Even when I was reading him, and I haven't read any of his books in a while, but I used to be such a huge fan of a lot of his stories. But there were times where I would get bogged down, and I'd actually have to put a book down and go, okay, I'll come back to that in a little bit, because
I
I just get
I
so bogged down in the details. Go ahead.
I've only read his short stories. I actually haven't read any of his novels like front to
Mhm.
back, but I would read a lot of his short story
The
collections.
short stories are really
Um,
good.
yeah, and I mean, this is Christine. The book is 526 pages. One of his
Yeah,
heftier books. Like it's a
yeah,
pretty thick book, and
yeah.
it has a lot of stuff. And I honestly think Carpenter made some improvements. Like
Oh yeah,
I think he made some decisions, and the things that he took out as far as all the backstory with Roland LeBay.
yeah,
I think kind of trimming that down really helped the story focus on Arnie as a character. And I think it makes his character arc a little bit more upsetting and effective,
oh yeah,
not being as connected to Roland LeBay. Like, there's little bits and pieces of it, but I think his decision to kind of do that benefits the film. And I think what is interesting about this film and Carpenter doing it is I would say this is maybe some of his best character work that he's done in a
oh
film.
yeah,
Like this has its stylish moments and it has its really cool set pieces, but it's pretty restrained for an hour 50 minutes. Like a lot of the set pieces don't come until the last like 30 minutes or so.
yeah,
And this is really Carpenter straight up doing a character piece,
oh yeah,
which I appreciate. That's something I feel like isn't focused on with his films as much. He's more about like the world and things like that. But when you approach a Stephen King story, that's always kind of the thing. It's Stephen King stories are always character pieces first, within, and then he builds a concept and they puts a
yeah,
concept or a twist around it. But it is
yeah,
always rooted in the characters. So I think Carpenter sticking with that and keeping this very character centric made a lot of sense for the adaptation. And I think the changes he made ended up again putting a little bit more emotional heft behind this film.
yeah. No, definitely. I think that you know, getting at the time relatively unknown actors for the main characters helped a lot as well. And then you have this and they're all doing a decent job acting. Um, and they, like you said, to that effect, that first hour or so is all character building. It's like, but it's never in lesser hands. I feel like it could be very slow, too much um that's going on, or like too much is going on in just with that character work, but he does it in such a good way it never feels slow. It's a slow burn that doesn't feel slow, and I like that. And that's just a testament to both the writing and his direction to kind of keep each of the scenes fairly tight. um and yeah, it's just it building those characters up in that first half of it before you really start getting to a lot of stuff. Makes you live with the characters and gives you that um, you feel for them when things start going, because you feel when his when Arnie's transition happens. It happens at least slow enough. It seems kind of fast at times, but it feels slow enough that when you go back and watch it, it's slow enough. The it works its way in, this insidiousness into his character. It works its way in a way that feels organic and just slow enough to keep the pace going. So
Yeah, there's something extra, again, like very lean about the
yes,
storytelling and direction here. Like you said, I think
even
it's
for an
paced.
almost 2 hour movie, it's very lean.
Yeah,
So
like
yeah,
I think it's paced out well, but like if there's anything, the beginning is a little slow, I would say.
yeah,
If
yeah,
I did have any quibbles about like the pacing, like, you know, like kind of all the introduction and getting in the car and everything.
yeah,
But again, it's still very necessary, like, because it has a lot of the stuff setting up Arnie with in his relationship to his parents. So I
yeah,
mean, it's like, even though it's like it kind of gets a little, you know, a little slow start of a bit, but at the same time, it's stuff that's necessary, you know. And I think, you know, we do just enough to where it's like, okay, because it's like, you know, you gotta have Arnie's relationship with his parents, you gotta have Arnie's relationship with Dennis, and then you also gotta, you know, then work in everything else while also still being like, oh yeah, and by the way, evil car with,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
this kind of in the mystery of, you know, is the car haunted, is it Arnie, what, you know, what kind of combination of both. So there is a lot of stuff to juggle here. So like, again, yeah, as far as it still being almost 2 hours, but at the same time still feeling very
yeah.
economic in a way.
Well, and I think you have to. I think that's the best way to do it too when you're making a movie of this type, is that you kind of have to front load a little bit of the slowness there at the beginning. Yeah, you can sometimes jeopardize um you know your audience in that way, where you're trying to build that up because you want to have something that's kind of engages the audience right away. But I think you have to front load a lot of that exposition early, to kind of build up where you're going to go from there. Because once you get past that point, then you can start clipping along, um, and you don't have to worry about um, those exposition dumps later on in the thing, slowing down the pacing. And so it's better to kind of, you know, I mean, if you could pepper it throughout, sure, that works even better. But if you're going to have to do it in some way, doing it in the front to deal with it, um, and not having to deal with it later, so you can keep the pacing tight later, is a lot better. So I think, and even then, I don't think that even what we have in this that kind of slows it down a little bit is too slow. It never feels too slow. You just, I get where, if at the most you're just like, okay, well, let's get to it, let's get to the killer car and everything. But it's just like you said, it's just that small section at the beginning, and then everything else just kind of clicks in, and you're good to go for the rest of it. So it's pretty nice for that.
Yeah, I had forgotten on this rewatch that this does like kind of take place over like a few months of time.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
isn't just like, you know, oh, this is like kind of happening like within a week or so. Like this is
yeah,
you know, we go up through football season. I think like it goes all the way up through like November. And obviously that makes sense since it
yeah,
is gonna, obviously, like when we see the state that Arnie buys Christine in, we know
yeah,
it's like realistically, yeah, it would take, you know, at least 3 to 4 months to rebuild
yeah,
it, you know, to that point. Even still, that's still stretching it, but like we
yeah,
can get away with movie logic by that point.
yeah. Yeah, apparently it's set sometime during from September 1978 to sometime in January of 79.
Yeah.
So, um, and so it, because you do see, like you said, you see Thanksgiving. It's the beginning of the school year when he gets the car, and then and then like you said, football season and everything. But it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it does clip along. You you make it like him building that car up from what it was to what it becomes and everything like that, with just as him doing it, he has no help doing it. um it should have taken him that entire time, I would think,
Yeah.
But it's movie logic, like you said, makes it go a lot faster, which is fine for the movie. You gotta do what you gotta do.
So I'm curious, are you a car guy? Like how do you like,
So
because I have a very interesting relationship with cars.
I do kind of too. I'm not a gearhead. I don't really care about all the mechanics and stuff like that. I don't change my own oil or anything. But my dad was. My dad was a mechanic, and he really enjoyed working on cars and stuff. And he tried to get me out there to do it. And I'm just not that kind of person. I do like cars. I think cars are fascinating. And I've ironically, for somebody who didn't really care about mechanics and didn't even get his license until he was 19, most of my jobs in my life have been driving jobs. So I have an interesting connection in that way that just drove a lot and am not really. I'm fascinated by cars. I'll sometimes watch little documentary type things on YouTube about like certain cars or whatever, if they have a unique look or whatever. So I am fascinated by them, but not in enough of a way to go and work on them or anything like that. I could never do what he did in Christine. So.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, I'm kind of I've never changed my own oil, but like I had to before I moved out to LA, I got into a car accident, and like it was like literally like the week like before I was about to like move, and so I was trying to save money. So like me and my best friend's dad, we were like, let's not take a mechanic. Like he knew like a decent amount about cars, to where we're like, I think we can take care of ourselves. So we ended up replacing the radiator ourselves. Wow. And I was like, hey, and I felt like that like kind of accomplishment. I was like, hey, that was kind of neat. We figured that out, and it was like, we got in there. But I hate driving. Like driving, it makes me so anxious. I get road rage really bad.
That's so funny.
And so it got to a point, like, because like it got to a point because in LA you spend so much time in your car, in traffic and stuff.
In traffic, yeah.
So I would like get to work or like my location, and I would be in the worst mood, and just because I was upset about driving, So eventually I just sold my car, and I was like, I'm just gonna switch over to public transportation, getting around elsewhere. And because I was like, I'd rather, if I'm going to be sitting in traffic, then I might as well sit on a bus or on a train to where I have both hands and I can, read or catch up on something or like whatever, So I gave it up, and now I'm in Chicago, and so I don't have to drive here either. So I hate driving, but I find cars very, very fascinating. I realize a lot of my favorite films involve cars, whether it be something like Speed Racer, whether it be Rush, whether it be to 10, like Crash. I'm endlessly, a lot of my favorite, because I think the connection that humans have to cars is very fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like, this is a machine that we treat like pets in a way, or some people, if they like really love their car, it's like their significant other in a way, like, and there's this upkeep and everything, and like, everything to it. And I forget who was talking about it, but they're saying like, like cars are these machines and they feel alive because you can do something and it responds to you. Right. You accelerate more, it goes faster. You do this, it responds this way. So like the way that your car comes alive, the way that you interact with it, I find very fascinating, So here in this film, where you kind of take cars as this first key of freedom in your coming of age, like you're most people, if they're able to, they get their permit at 15, get their license at 16, figure out a car situation. And like, that's like kind of your first, like, oh, I don't need my parents to drive me around anymore. I can do this. And, so it gives you your first sense of autonomy. And I feel like that's the big thing here in this film. I think there is a very strange sexual relationship to people have with cars. And that's not as much in here, though it is. Like Christine and him, they are definitely in love. Like this is a bad romance type of movie. For sure. But the film, I think what I find most compelling about it, at least, is Arnie's, like coming of age and like this urge that he has to break free from the control and oversight of his parents and everything. That is very common, so that's like kind of what really sticks out to me in this movie. And the fact that like the film doesn't lean into it like in the book, where it's like, oh, Arnie's like slowly getting possessed by the spirit and everything. In this, it's like yeah, there's they talk about it, but it's like, really, it's like, no, this car is kind of bringing out stuff that was already inherently in Arnie, so like him coming into his own that way is what I find most compelling about this film as a coming of age movie first.
Oh yeah. There's definitely there's definitely a sexual aspect to it, and there's Brian Fuller had a really good take on it that he talked about on the King cast, and I can't remember how he said he's supposed to be remaking Christine. So
oh yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah. So, but he had a take on it that it was I think, oh man, I think he was saying it was either he was saying it was the way he read it was like an allegory for um homosexuality, or for trans. There was a trans allegory in it.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few moments in the film where it's like they make it a point to call Arnie a queer, or like you may be a queer, but you're not ugly, or whatever, is like a strange line, But again, that's like kind of classic early 80s, late 70s, like kind of homophobia, like kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I can see a little bit of that, because it's definitely like there's this like theme throughout where like Christine is like that person that everyone tells you not to date, but you like can't resist. Everyone's like, no, that person's bad news. I'm telling you, like, I don't like, whatever. And no, I'm going to date who I want. What is it? Because they're trans, is like kind of like an interesting aspect of it that they have. I mean, there's definitely like, a sexuality to the film. I mean, the show me scene that's a lap dance. Like that is literally a striptease lap dance scene, and it is hot. It is sexy in a very strange way. So it's like there is that, or the gal like kind of getting jealous of Christine throughout, and Arnie's attention. But I mean, I could see it being an aspect, like, because me, I'm I say bisexual because it sounds better, but like I'm technically pansexual because I mean my current partner is a non-binary person right now, so it's like the idea of Arnie opening his mind up to be like like, because Dennis at the beginning they're talking about him getting laid, and Arnie specifically says, he goes, well, you need a gal to get laid. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You can get laid by anybody or anything. In this case, that being Christine. So, is this a burgeoning, pansexuality, a coming of age story where this person's like, hey, I'm attracted to anyone, anything. It doesn't kind of matter to me.
Right.
I saw a comedian was talking about pansexuals and goes, he's like Potts Pan, she'll date the whole kitchen. And like, I thought that was really funny. So I could see definitely some vibes here from Arnie.
Yeah, I would say like there's definitely a queerness to the movie that I could see being read into it. I don't think I know that both Stephen King and John Carpenter, neither one of them intended for that, but there's definitely a vibe there. And
I've seen some people make theories about like Arnie and Dennis too. Which I actually don't see as much as I don't love to read into it. But like at the same time, I like watching this because I'm like, I think they have a very like great friendship. Like this
They
is
do.
a friendship that you don't really see, portrayed often. It's like you got the jock and the nerd, but they're still good
Especially
buddies.
during the 80s. Especially during the
Yes.
80s, you didn't get a lot of friendships like that. The jocks and nerds were always pit against each other.
Yeah.
So,
And they've been like friends for a long time, they have
yeah.
history together and everything. So it's like the fact that, and I love that, like Dennis doesn't have like a heel turn in this movie like he typically would in a lot of other films. It's like he is sincerely worried about his friend and cares about him and, and like hates to see what's happening to him. So I think it's actually just like a really great male friendship that they actually show that they care about each other.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because there's late in the movie, this, after Arnie starts turning, bad, he just becomes an ass to his girlfriend Lee, and and essentially they break up. And then like you could read the relationship between Lee and Dennis as something where they start dating and stuff like that, but I don't think they do. You can read it that way, but I've always seen it as they're both trying to save Arnie. And yes, they hug on each other and everything, but it's more of a out of the need for um consolation, because they're losing their friend, and so I've never read it as them hooking up
Me
after the
neither.
fact. So
Me neither. I think the only read that I would get from that is it's just Arnie gets that because that's just where his mind automatically goes. Like that's where the jealous male ego, just instantly goes like, oh, what are you two together now? They actually the trio of them have a very similar vibe. And it came out around the same year. We just did an episode on Nightmare on Elm Street 2 back in October. And it's a very similar dynamic, Mark Patton's character, he's trying to date the gal, they kind of have a thing, but in that he does truly, it's the two dudes that have a crush on each other. So slightly different, but also like it's a similar, we have a triangle with the monster on the outside influencing everything. So kind of similar dynamics.
Yeah, definitely. It's this movie's really fascinating. I think everybody's doing really good work in the acting. Like I said, it's all early on. They were apparently there were people that were looked at, but they decided to go with relative unknowns at the time: Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, and Alexander Paul.
Famously, Arnie was supposed to be played by Kevin Bacon, who
but he chose
did
instead.
Yes, he ended up going with Footloose, probably the better decision for Mr. Bacon. So, I'll applaud you there. I think Keith Gordon is fantastic. I think he kind of had a little bit of a Scream King run there early in his career. He did Jaws 2. He has a small supporting role. But he's fantastic in Dressed to Kill. Like I think he's the best performance in that movie, actually. He's bring in like a teenage investigator vibe, like bring in the noir vibes in that movie. I think he's great in here. So him being the lead here, I think his performance as Arnie, I think, is fantastic as you get to see the gradual transformation. I think he does a lot of like little things. It's like obviously we have the classic, like, okay, look, he doesn't wear his glasses anymore, look, he's popped his collar now. We have those visual cues, but Keith Gordon also has little things as performances, like he changes his posture throughout the film. He's very hunched over and slinky early on, and like kind of makes himself look smaller. His walk is different, his voice, obviously he kind of starts talking like a 50s greaser. That's like some of the LaBelle influence, or the LeBay influence. But at the same time, like even just like his voice, like he like kind of like deepens it a little bit, and he talks a little bit more assuredly. whenever he speaks. So he's doing a lot of really great things, small things with his performance that I think really sell, this kind of whole arc for Arnie.
Yeah. No, agreed. I think, he does a fantastic job. Another film to look at for him, which is really good, that is not horror, but it's Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. He plays Rodney Dangerfield's son in that. Um, he's got a good amount of work in that, and plays a not, I wouldn't say a similar character, but similar-ish. He's kind of a nerdy guy that gets somewhat picked on in college, and um, his dad Rodney Dangerfield, kind of helps bring him out of that a little bit as well, while also embarrassing him at the same time. But it's a fun movie though. It's got Robert Downey Jr. plays his best friend in it, so it's hilarious. So, but yeah, I agree. I think Keith Gordon does a great job. John Stockwell, he's good. I've never been a huge fan of John Stockwell's. He's been fine in the few things I've seen him in. And this one he's really good. He's really good as Dennis.
Yeah, I think he's solid.
Yeah.
Like I think he is. Dennis is kind of the anchor for this film.
Yeah.
In many ways. So it's like, it's not a very flashy role, but I think he's really solid. Again, like I very much believe in the friendship between the two of them. So I think they have good chemistry together.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely agreed. Yeah, they do well. Alexandra Paul as Lee, she's okay. She's got kind of a smallish role. So, and it's
a very thankless role.
Yeah.
It's very, again, like she's kind of more just plot, if anything, she's there, but like and like you said, like they try, I'd say there's at least an attempt to do something with having her team up with Dennis, in the third act, because they easily could just made it be Dennis trying to save Arnie. She really didn't need to be there, but at least they tried to include her in the third act and didn't just sideline her completely, but written as a character, there's not much to her, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like Robert Prosky as Darnell. I think obviously he's getting to chew his cud and talking a funny voice, but I like the Darnell character too, because again I think he is very important in Arnie's kind of coming of age, because as he makes this, Darnell, he just offers up his garage, and then this is where Arnie is again, okay, yes, you have a car now, but that comes with adult decisions and things like that. So the fact that he has to, okay, Darnell is Darnell busts his balls a lot, as he should. But at the same time, he's also being okay, hey, this is how this works. You clean up around the shop. You can't just take from my junkyard and fix your car up. Okay, let's come up with a system here. Because that's what adults do. We figure out a solution. You don't just do what you want, and then kind of do it. So I like Darnell as a character, constantly kind of checking Arnie. And but again, these are adult lessons that he's learning in his coming of age. So I really like the character of Darnell.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because in the book, Darnell has a more expanded role, and what Arnie does for Darnell is a lot different too. There's Darnell basically is smuggling out of this garage and junkyard.
Of course.
And so he's Arnie is doing a lot of his is helping him with that, and so that's part of the whole subplot with Darnell in the book, which I think is great, but I think it's also one of those good necessary cuts that wasn't needed,
not necessary for a movie. I could read about it, for sure.
Absolutely.
But as for the movie, that would have been completely
too much.
out of place, honestly.
It was too much, and I think that's one of those great bits where you cut out and go, yes, this would be a lot of fun, but yes, this is also too much. And then Robert Prosky actually asked the writer to beef up a little bit of his presence in the script as well. So that's where that's why he's in it as much as he is, even. Um, and so it's and they actually
Again,
had to, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, again, it's a kind of kill your darlings thing. And I think
Yeah,
if Carpenter again was like this like mega fan of the book and whatever and was adapting it, he probably would have been a little bit more precious,
right.
and been like, no, I need to keep the Darnell subplot in there. But like
Yeah.
again, like him not being as a connected and attached to it, he's able to be like, okay, well, let me see what I need here, what I don't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love Stephen King's reaction. Apparently, this was one of two film adaptations that bored him. The other being The Shining, the other film that
Yeah.
was changed from the book even more so than this one.
Yeah.
So again, obviously, King doesn't love it when the films stray from his source material as much. Sometimes I think he's softened up on it over the years now.
Yeah. And I think
But
it's
early
always,
on, that
yeah.
makes sense.
Well, and I think also it was always like one of those things where he again would get too precious with certain things. I don't care for The Shining myself. I'm not a fan of The Shining. But I also hold no, I'm not like a purist that I'm like, oh, he has to keep the Stephen King, because we did get that. We got a Stephen King like a mini series version of The Shining, which was very close to the book and did not work as well because
Yeah, that was
they left
the
too
one by
much of,
Mick Garris.
yeah. And so I think, whatever issues that King had with this, I think sure he probably would have liked more of the subplots and stuff being kept in, or maybe the stuff with LeBay kept in, because in the book, LeBay, instead of Arnie being influenced by the evilness of the car is actually haunted by LeBay, and that presence takes over Arnie in a lot of ways and influences Arnie. So I get that could have been probably why King didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, I think it really works for the movie not to have like a literal ghost like haunting um Arnie the whole time. It just makes everything work just that much better.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Just
I think
making
it's
it the car.
yeah, I think they were very similar kind of changes when you look at them, because I think that's what some people, their critique of The Shining is like. In the movie it's like, well, obviously Jack, more of this is Jack than the hotel
Yeah.
influencing him. But I think that makes it a more compelling watch, when you're watching something. Like, I like the idea that like a lot, like you do kind of are able to question as you watch this, like how much of it is the Christine influencing Arnie, or is him just like kind of getting that way. He's kind of,
Yeah.
he feels very, because he's pretty precious about Christine, like from the jump,
Yeah.
and then it's understandable when you see how much work he puts in and everything. So like,
Yeah.
really, you're watching a lot of it and you're like, I feel like a good chunk of this is Arnie with just like a little
It's a little
splash of
nudge with
Christine. Yeah,
Christine. Yeah.
Christine, like, yeah, kind of nudging him at little points here and there, but
Yeah.
like, I don't ever like, get that sense. So it's like, again, I like having that lack of the supernatural influence, or
Yeah.
any explanation either. Like, I love that the movie just opens. It's like Christine was built in a factory just like every other car, and that's that. Like,
Yeah.
like it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
So I like the ambiguity with that.
Oh, absolutely. Um, it's funny too because this movie was given an R rating, but there's a lot of the violence isn't. There's not a lot of R-rated violence in it, and so they actually had to go back and add a lot of language to the movie to beef up so that they could justify the R rating at the time. So which is
Which
funny
is,
because
that's crazy, because I guess they would do that, then make an appeal, or
well,
because was this pre PG-13?
this was pre PG
That's
13.
why.
That's
Okay.
why, yeah.
I,
So they could because of that, because there wasn't enough R rated violence. They were like, okay, well we could put it out as PG, but they were afraid that it just wouldn't work. And and so they
it's
chose to do it as,
interesting because
yeah.
all the deaths, because none of the deaths have any blood to them.
No.
which is interesting, like obviously all the blood and fluids we saw in the thing, it's like
Yeah.
it feels kind of fascinating. So I mean, do you think that was like avoided so the movie doesn't give off like B movie vibes? Because that's the thing, like this movie, yes, is about an evil car, but like this is not like it's taken very seriously. Like this isn't a like kind of like, oh, B movie schlock, like of course, look, it's the haunted car killer car movie. And I feel like maybe if they were like more gruesome bloody deaths, then it would feel a little too slasher-esque, maybe.
Could be, yeah, could be. Yeah, it said in the trivia here that um they they were afraid if the movie went out with a PG rating, nobody would go to see it. So he purposely inserted the F word and its derivatives in order to get the R rating. He then recalls that they were criticized at the time for their use of the word. So it's like they were damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Because
And so
you definitely feel some of the added ones in the third act, like
yeah,
Arnie like really just like starts like like cranking it up
yeah,
in the third act, how much he's cussing, which
yeah,
again like that was like a thing, like the amount of times someone's called a shitter in this movie is
yeah,
makes me laugh every single time.
yeah. It's too funny. But they ended up buying something like 24 or 25 Plymouth Furies for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because they use this was it says it was 15% of the budget was used on just the cars. And that by the end of the
Yeah.
filming, all but two had been destroyed.
Yeah,
So
and it was kind of the thing that had like various versions, like certain of them.
yeah,
I think they only had two that were like completely like fully
yeah, built
functional,
out to
like
drive.
actual.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of them were cases in various ways used
yeah,
to film certain scenes.
yeah,
Loved the continuity for it. I think it works out really well.
yeah.
Of course, Christine's reconstruction scene, like that wasn't even going to be in
Yeah,
the film
yeah,
either, because Carpenter didn't think they could pull it off with
yeah,
their budget and everything. So he
yeah.
basically told the effects crew, like, if you guys can come up with a way to do it, we'll do it. But like I'm not holding out. But they come up with this like kind of whole reverse filming technique. They would put like hydraulics to like pop certain dents out whenever
Yeah,
they did it. It's an incredible
yeah,
sequence. Like I think this is like again, I like watch it. Turn the score up extra loud, like because I think
yeah.
this is one of Carpenter and Howard's better scores
Hmm.
too. And so like that scene, just everything with the sound design, the score, and the reconstruction of it, like it looks so damn
Oh, it's
good.
phenomenal. Yeah. And apparently, a bunch like during that sequence, it's not just hydraulics, but they actually use plastic instead of the metal. So all of that, where it's like where they, because what they did, like you said, they filmed it in reverse. So what we're seeing is it rebuilding itself is actually them using these hydraulic pumps to suck in the car,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's all plastic. And so none of that. It looks metal, but none of it is, and it's all just sucked in plastic, which I thought was fascinating to read. But and then yeah, that was some of the cars that like that car wasn't intended for anything other than for doing that too. And so uh it's but yeah, it looks so fascinating on screen because I mean this is in the before CGI, so this wasn't possible to do on computer, so they had to find a way to practically do that, and like the way they did it is just it's fantastic. Like you said, it's one of those scenes that I mean, even if you'd never seen the movie, you might have actually seen just parts of this scene because it's so good, and it's just fascinating. It's
Yeah,
probably
there's like,
probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie, that and the burning car. So
which again, like that's something like like we don't set things on fire like we used to these days for
no,
some reason,
absolutely, yeah.
even though we still haven't actually cracked CGI fire, like it
Yeah,
still mostly looks like shit. Like, did
yeah.
you see Die My Love from last year?
I didn't
Oh
know.
my god, the Lim Ramsey movie, it has a forest fire finale, and it looks like a PS1 like
That's so
graphic, like it's
funny.
so bad. But so like doing a real fire stunt with the Christine car, it's so iconic, it looks great, it's
Yeah,
been referenced in so many films, which I find fascinating because again, this movie doesn't quite have like the pop culture lexicon that some other Stephen King adaptations have, some other Carpenter films, but yet that shot has like you said, like I think has been referenced
transcends
so many different times. One of we watched Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and season 2 has I always say it whenever I'm talking about like the franchise. Season 2 has a 4-episode stretch where it is Ash going back to his hometown and dealing with hometown stuff, and then the Delta gets possessed by Deadites. And so it's basically like an Evil Dead Christine mashup. Like there's an episode where it's Ash versus the Delta, like in a bullfighting like arena, like in a rodeo arena, and it's super fun. But like the 4-episode arc of Ash being in his hometown dealing with Deadites, and then the Delta gets possessed. I was like, that's like like if you take those 4 episodes and like kind of smush them together into a movie, that's like it's a really like solid like Evil Dead movie. So if you guys haven't seen Ash vs. the Evil Dead, check out season 2. Has some really great Christine moments.
Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead is a great series. It was very fun. It is the whole car. Obviously Christine herself is a character. And I like that, for a good portion of it, he's just building her, he's just driving her. There's nothing. Sure, you get a few instances where the car is doing some evil stuff, but like not until, after that, good hour mark, does Christine really come alive and start getting revenge, obviously, because, Buddy Repperton and his crew break it all up, and then you get the rebuilding scene.
Oh my god, Buddy Repperton, classic Stephen King psychopathic bully. Like, why were all Stephen King bullies like just burgeoning murderers?
Right, like everything. Ace Merrill from Stand By Me, and it just too many.
They're like all in their early 20s in this movie filming it, but this actor looks the oldest out of all of them.
And he was only 23 too. I read that he was only 23, but he's like, he looked like he was in his 30s. So. Well, and I think it's funny too because he gives John Travolta vibes, and so it's like they were trying to get John Travolta from Carrie, but John Travolta was already like, because this movie came out in '83. So, but the movie's set in 78, 79. And so you needed somebody that kind of had that same, I don't know, vibe as John Travolta in like Carrie. So, but it's just, it's funny.
It's the sideburns, those like super sharp, large triangle sideburns they has like add like an extra like 5 years to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But so once it starts happening, once Christine starts going after all the bullies and stuff, and you don't know if Arnie's ever there at first, if he's participating in them, but you find out later that he's actually not, and that the car's been driving herself and everything.
I mean, I don't know. It's like I rewatched it because it's like very intentional. Like every time they film it, you can't see the inside of the car.
Blacked out the windows.
And I don't know. I was like trying to watch, and I was like what if I don't know. I would like to think that Arnie is in the car for maybe 1 or 2 of them, not the first one, but maybe after that. I don't know, because there's at a point like Arnie's looking like a straight ghoul. Whenever he's like kind of like got like the bags under his eyes and everything. So I'm like, I don't know, but I think the way that it's like shot and filmed though is really great, like for all those scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have a favorite needle drop? Because I love the use of, I mean, that's kind of a classic thing, when you have a car that's alive, it communicates through the radio or whatever. We've seen that a bunch of times, but I really like the curation of the soundtracks on here. We got some Buddy Holly in there, got some Little Richard, Thurston Harris. Like there's some really great needle drops in this one. I really love the Buddy Holly Not Fade Away track is really, really good.
I wouldn't say anything really stood out to me, honestly, but I did like the the music they used. It was really um very specific for the car. I thought that was for Christine herself, was just like she would play the music, whatever music she was playing. Um, uh, was really fun and great. It was like it was good stuff. Wasn't like music you've heard a ton, other than like Bad to the Bone. Um, but I just, for me, it's the score, the Carpenter and Howard score, that's like just fantastic, um, as his scores usually are.
It's like not even just the score. Like I love the like that like kind of like synthy bell sound that
Yeah,
is like kind of like used as like a stinger for
yeah,
Christine. I
yes,
really like that
yeah.
the use of that. So
The
it's like
Christine sound. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the best, because you just know that sound. Anytime you hear that, you're like, oh, Christine's near. So, uh, um, anyway, um, what was I gonna say? He's got this short bit with the cop. I think it's funny too, because it's Harry Dean Stanton plays the detective
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that. I think it's interesting because, like, I don't know, it's they build up the cop as like this new character and stuff like that, but he's barely in the movie. And so I never really get a um like, I don't know, never really get an essential vibe with the cop. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
different if he had, like, I don't know, been a part of the movie earlier, but because he comes in so late, I never get that essentiality with him.
And then they don't really like build out or like give any reason for like him to actually be suspicious of Arnie,
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, like some people beat up your car and then they end up dead. It's like, well, yeah, but also like you literally have no evidence or no nothing, so
yeah,
I almost wish they would have just like, oh, like just like disregard the detective and just like kind of keep playing on like them trying to tell the parents that Christine is alive, and then the Christine not believe, or then the parents like not believing or whatever. Keep going in that way, because again,
yeah,
that's kind of like a classic like Stephen King thing, but like it would have worked because, like you said, like, yeah, Detective Junkins, a great name,
yeah,
is he's here, but yeah, he's not really adding any like kind of tension or pressure to the film.
yeah,
And then it's just like, okay, well, now we're just taking time away from like where we could be like spending time with Dennis or or Lee or something like that.
yeah. um it's interesting too. So the detectives, the car that the detective drives, and you only see it in that one scene when he first confronts Arnie. It's or at the school when he confronts Arnie. He The car that he is driving is a 1970s Plymouth Fury, so it's literally the same name of the car that
Oh,
Arnie is driving, but it's different. Like, it's 20 years later. It's a 20 years later model, so it definitely doesn't look the same. But apparently, that became a staple for cops to use at the time, was the Plymouth Fury. So it's an interesting evolution to see the two cars next to each other in that scene, and just see how cars had evolved from the late 50s to the late 70s. So
oh, interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of like older generational divide type of thing. Again, like that kind of comes through with Arnie and his parents.
yeah,
Which I think both actors playing his parents, they're fine. Like they don't really like have like too much that they have to do, but I think they put in enough for the performance to again
yeah,
sell
to
the
show how
dynamic
overbearing they are.
between.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean they truly are, for like no
uh
reason whatsoever, which I understand. Like me growing up in high school, I'm the oldest of my siblings, and I'm for my, at least on my dad's side, I'm the only boy, and he has
yeah,
3 younger girls. So it's like the coming of age that we had is like so different.
yeah,
And I remember that, like as a teenager, be like, I get good grades. I've never been in trouble. I don't do, I don't drink. I don't do nothing. But why are they always on my ass so much?
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
because. But it's like, it's just parents being parents, and they struggle to, kind of release you to your autonomy as well. So it makes sense. But at the same time, like his parents are just like for no reason whatsoever, just
Crazy
always on his
overbearing.
case.
Yeah. Especially his mom. The mom is the worst. Yeah.
But I think because I think there's a really interesting scene, or there's two interesting scenes by him. I think it might be the same scene actually, but they're talking about what's happening, and then they are all very calm, and they're like, but hey, look, we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you get a new car. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, see, that's where the problem is, because now if you help me get that car, that means you're going to have say in it later
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
like, because that's always the thing, like,
Yeah.
so it's like, I totally get where it's like, Arnie's like, no, I'm going to fix Christine again, because
Yeah.
I do not want, like, you to have any kind of authority over me in my car. So I
Absolutely.
think that's a really interesting scene. And then the scene where his dad like tries to like get loud and like get up in his face, and then fucking Arnie just flips it and fucking chokes him out. Like
Yeah.
the dad's face whenever Arnie has it, and like Keith Gordon does this like creepy little smile and smacks him on the face. I was like, oh god, like I was like he's terrifying. But like it's like I've been there, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
those kind of scenes. And the when your parents get on you, and then you catch them off guard, and you're like, it's the old man, it's not as easy anymore.
Yeah. Oh man, too funny. Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great couple of scenes with his parents. They don't get a lot of play in there, but definitely when they do, you can see the reason behind a lot of what a lot of the issues Arnie has. And so and you can see like, and that does make you question, like you said earlier, whether or not how much influence is Christine and how much is just Arnie gaining confidence and everything in himself, um, because of the car. Like, because he goes from this like kind of nerdy guy um, to this more confident guy with this car. He feels more confident. He gets the girl that nobody else can get, and and everything else. And you do wonder, um, and I think that's what's great about the movie too, is the movie never tells you how much he's being influenced by Christine, or if it's just him growing into his own skin, in not always the best ways. But it's everybody in the movie is, and I can see where he grows this resentment too, is because like not only does he have his parents on him the whole time, but his friend doesn't want him to get this car, and so then he's like, but I want this car, and if his friend had just supported him, maybe things would be different. Maybe if he had more positivity, maybe he wouldn't have been as easily corruptible when Christine finally if I mean, and again, that's the ambiguousness of it. How much of that was Christine, or how much was it just him dealing with his own stuff in a negative way? Um,
I mean,
so
I would say, if I had to say, honestly, I would go like 75%. Like that's just Arnie, like kind of
yeah,
like growing into his thing. Because like you said, like he just has all these external factors like kind of pushing, and it's like, that cautionary tale of like, well, see, this is what happens when you don't let somebody like become their own person, and then the way that they like kind of push back on that. So I kind of see it. I think a good chunk of it is Arnie, but
yeah,
because I like that the characterization of Christine, if you want to, like, because I think Christine does have a little bit of a personality in here.
yeah,
Mainly, they mainly just make her jealous girlfriend as kind of Christine's
yeah,
whole
yeah,
personality. But at the same time, like like it, I think it is fascinating. Like it's like is almost treating Christine like is very protective and controlling of Arnie, the way that like we kind of see like you said, like in Greece, whenever like the greaser guys are like, super, like in the 50s, it's all overbearing over
Yeah.
the girlfriend. The girlfriend, you got to wear my Letterman jacket, you got to wear my ring, you know. It's like, so it's like, I feel like Christine, being from that era, saw that, and that's how that's the way that she treats Arnie, in a way, is like, you know, like whenever she's like getting testy and things like that, but like, you know, but Arnie is always like, oh yeah, I feel you, girl. He's always like, you're valid. He's like, you're valid in feeling that, you know. And the way that Arnie, like, you know, talks it, you know, like, immediately, it plays on, like, obviously we've always kind of done that again with like cars and boats. We always not only you know, make them, you know, human in a way, but at the same time we also, it's always a female as well.
Right.
So I think the film, again, without having to go into, okay, Christine is, you know, like influence, like we never like see like, oh, Christine like giving like direct orders to Arnie or anything like that, you know. So it's like, that's why in my head, like a lot of like what Arnie is dealing with is just him, like, you know. It's like, it's not really like, it's like, yeah, like, and Christine is more of just like she listens to him, you know, she's the shoulder for him, and being like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I understand. And that's where he, like, you know, kind of um develops a little bit more.
Yeah. A little piece of trivia, which doesn't matter much to anything, but I thought was interesting, is the neighborhood that Arnie's parent, like Arnie lives in with his parents and stuff like that, is the same neighborhood from Halloween, from John Carpenter's Halloween. So if you kind of look at, you get kind of a similar vibe. You see it mostly at night, in the movie, but which you do kind of see mostly her neighborhood in the night as well. But yeah, it's definitely in the same neighborhood as Lori, which is funny because it happens around the same time period, because this is from September 78 to January 79. So if they, you know, live in the same neighborhood, things were going down. So,
which again, I think also like funny too, that like Carpenter's like kind of disregard for typical Kingisms, like the movie's supposed to be set in Maine, John, and he's like, why? He's like, why would I set the movie in Maine?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh, and in true John Carpenter fashion, his quote to about this film: "I enjoyed making Christine. It was fun and easy. Nothing tough about it."
Yeah.
Just imagine being that casual of a director, being like, "Oh yeah, I cranked something out like Christine with zero effort." You know, whatever.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's this just a fun movie. I think definitely it's underrated in terms of Stephen King movies. I think it's gotten a little bit better over time. But I think that it's still underrated as far as like you said earlier, as John Carpenter's movies go. I'd say honestly, like, it's probably my third favorite of his, after They Live and Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh,
Yeah.
You even have, oh wow, like The Thing isn't your automatic number one?
No, I love The Thing. Don't get me wrong,
Love that.
but the Thing is probably number 4 for me. So I just I like these other movies a lot more. And
Yeah.
you said earlier, Christine's your number 2. What's your number 1?
My number one is The Thing. I think The Thing, like as much as I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, it's The Thing, but like I think it kind of is undeniable. Like it is such
I
a
think
like
I think it's
like
his best movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not my favorite, but
sure,
I
yeah,
do
that
think
makes
it's
sense.
technically his best movie.
Yeah, because I would kind of agree. I would say like, because I have They Live at 4, but I would say like on like a thematic level, it is one of his better films. You
Yeah.
know, but yeah, I'm a little all over the place with his, but I got I go The Thing, Christine, Halloween, then They Live.
Yeah.
As far as like my
Halloween would
4.
probably be my number 5, because I like Halloween. But yeah, between The Thing and Halloween, those typically get to be people's number ones and stuff. And they're just like, look, I think they're technically great films, but I I don't find them as interesting as the other three that I have, because I think those other ones are just, I don't know, more fascinating in their own ways. So
Yeah, as I'm looking on Letterbox as far as like how the cinephiles are feeling these days, it has a 3.5 average rating, which is like pretty solid. Like
yeah,
the curve is pretty high around the 3.5 and the 4 mark. But if you like go to John Carpenter's like thing, it is out of it's his 10th highest rated of his
no,
films. So like kind of further down as far as his more popular films go.
that's
But as far as
interesting.
yeah, and then it's number 7 as far as popularity, which is like how much people interact with the film on
Right.
Letterboxd. So yeah, it's a kind of in the mid tier for people.
Yeah.
It seems like, but I don't know. Yeah, there's something about this that I really enjoy. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really feel like a typical John Carpenter film. Like when you
Yeah.
kind of look at his filmography, I mean it's like it doesn't not make sense being here, but it
Yeah.
also doesn't quite feel like
Yeah.
a majority of his filmography.
No, I think that's what works for it. It is this really good adaptation of a Stephen King book by Carpenter, and it's kind of like, in a lot of ways, the best of both of them in a way. Or it's the best that you're going to get from, like, from that collaboration. Um so I think that's what elevates it uh for me as well. To me, it's one of the better Stephen King adaptations as well. So I'd put it pretty high up on my list of those. So
It's definitely in my I have that list somewhere out here in front of me, but I know it's at least in my top 10 of Stephen
yeah,
King adaptations for sure.
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I don't have anything else that I can think of that I want to talk about for the movie. Do you have anything left that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit it all. Like this is like it's a really solid, sturdy movie. Like
Yeah,
I gave it a
definitely.
4 the last time I watched it. I might bump this up to a 4.5, honestly.
Yeah,
Like when I kind of think of what this movie's trying to accomplish, I think it succeeds in most of it, honestly.
right.
I think it's very well made, some really great performances. And so like yeah, I'm probably gonna bump this up a little bit. I have this obviously audio medium, but I got my little steel book here
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
I watched. I don't know where I got this from. It is like it's like one of the ones it like has
I
like the art and
think
it
it was
has
well, I think it was originally a Best Buy exclusive, but I think they eventually ended up releasing it at Walmart as well.
but because it has no booklet inside of it.
No, yeah, I
There's
used to have that
nothing
version.
There's nothing that lists like the bonus features, no nothing. There's no art on the back either. It's just blank.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I just love steel books. So I always like snatch them up. But I'm just like, this is like such a random one. I was like, wait, where did I even get this from? It just kind of appeared on my shelf.
yeah, I used to have that one, but now I have but then I upgraded to the 4K, and yeah, I don't have and that one's just in a regular case now. So, um, but yeah, it definitely was a funny case. It was like the most plain steelbook case.
It has this really long advert written on the bottom of
Yeah,
it.
it's so crazy.
It claims that Christine has a 350 cubic inch self-healing V8 engine, 365 horsepower.
It's
For
so
all you
funny.
gearheads that were curious.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on again to the show. Like I said, it had been a while, so it was great to get to talk to you again. Um, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Thank you. Yes, thanks for having me once again. You can find me at underscore Daddy Disco on Blue Sky, Instagram, Letterbox. You can hear me on my podcast, Spectre Cinema Club. New episodes every Tuesday. We are currently April was bloody April showers, so some extra gore happening in April, and then May will be May we'll be doing Yorgos Lanthimos films. So very excited for that miniseries coming up as well. Host that with my buddy Garrett McDowell. You can also hear me over on Pod and Pendulum, where we cover movie franchises, one movie at a time. We are just finished up at the Omen series, if you guys are fans of that, and going into the Creep series. I am stoked for that one. So make sure you guys are checking us out there. And I was really glad to do this. I'm actually working on a car anthology film, or an anthology film that heavily revolves around cars. So this was some additional research.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on, and I hope we can get you on again sometime in the future. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on Teepublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.